Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today is going to be a fun episode talking about the new KUIU pattern, the Valo pattern. I've got Brendan Burns, the Chief Hunting Officer at KUIU, and Justin Shaffer, the Guide and Outfitter Director at KUIU. Guys, how you doing?
Doing well. How you doing today, Jay?
Doing good, Jay. Good morning.
It's going to be great to have both of you here to talk about Valo. Before we get into that and the launch of Valo, I'd like to just kind of talk to both of you and catch up on what you have been doing over the last couple months. Brendan, I'll start with you. How you been doing over the last couple months? What have you been able to get out and get on some hunts? What's been going on?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously we're kind of, I've been in the same place everybody else as. We were at shelter in place with the COVID deal for a long time. It's definitely loosening up here, and I think probably like everybody, I just tried to not get fat, staying indoors. I've been working out a bunch, and then spring bear opened up here, and I was able to get out a few times with my little guy Lucas, and we were able to kill a bear the other night, which was pretty cool. And just trying to, probably like everybody's been doing, just trying to get ready for this thing's going to come. Everything's going to get opened up hopefully sooner than later, and planning for the fall, hoping to what we're going to be able to do, and just trying to stay positive and get ready to get out and get after it. Probably like sure. Just about everybody's thinking.
For sure. What were the bears doing out there when you and Lucas, were they really moving around? Was it pretty visible on those hillsides? Or
yeah, we had a pretty good spring. We saw 15 bears. We saw 4 sows with 2 cubs apiece, which was kind of cool. And it was really good. My son, he's 7.5 now, and seeing a lot of bears was pretty cool. I mean, one night we saw 11 bears in about 2.5 hours, which is about as good as you can ask when you're hunting with a 7-year-old. And I killed just a decent bear. It's just a decent boar, nothing gigantic. But when you've passed, I wouldn't say passed on the sows with cubs, but when you see that many bears, Lucas was getting pretty anxious to get one on the ground. The patience is definitely a virtue that's going to come later in life for him. So that was just a lot of fun, and just see him, get so excited when we were able to shot one at 280 yards, just a nice cinnamon colored bear. It was pretty fun. So that was good. They were down low. It greened up pretty early. They were just down eating grass like they normally are. Caught one traveling here and there, but they were just out moving around. So just being spring bears, it's hard to pinpoint what they're doing.
It's always fun seeing the youth, but with Lucas, he's just head over heels for hunting. And it's so cool to see the passion that he has and the excitement that he has. And it seems like he's always out in the backyard with his bow and arrow, trying to shoot something. And it's just neat to see that how you've passed that down. And I look forward to seeing how he blossoms as a hunter and as a human being. He's a great little kid. Justin, you've been doing some traveling. I know you got a desert sheep. Tell us about that and some bear hunting as of late.
Yeah, it's been a super busy year for me. Once show season wrapped up, I was lucky enough to head out to West Texas and got to chase Aoudad. Shot a great big huge 34.5-inch ram down there, and then went down to Sonora, Mexico, and was able to hunt desert sheep for the first time, and just a truly amazing, epic experience. Just the whole area and getting to hunt sheep is always, top shelf. And then transitioned to spring bears here in Alaska, and just finished up a brown bear hunt on the peninsula. Was able to take a nice boar down there, and then transitioned into spring baited bear here. So kept really busy, even with the lockdown and everything going on. Had a few chances to get out.
The peninsula, for those that don't know, Justin, Alaska was shut down, was it not, for non-residents, but being a resident, you were able to still get out. Talk a little bit about how all of that went down and the process that the Alaska Game and Fish had to go through.
Yeah, originally, so the state shut the entire season down for both residents and non-residents, and then kind of reevaluated the situation and opened up resident spring bear hunting. There were still a lot of restrictions in place with the hunker down orders, and then interstate travel ban restrictions. So it took a lot of planning and coordination to get around and stay legal with what the restrictions were. So we ended up flying private aircraft into a private airstrip to avoid, breaking any of those regulations that were set in place by the governor. So flew down, got picked up by a buddy, flown into the field, and then same thing on the way out.
Being an Alaska resident, is hunting bears something that you try and do every single year?
Oh, absolutely. So, just being able to take advantage of that up here, having that spring bear season, being able to chase black bears and chase grizzlies, it's definitely penciled into the calendar every year to do it. There's lots of options as well as, whether you're hunting mountainsides, try to catch them greening up on the grass, or coastal or overbait. We've got lots of bear action and opportunities, and it's definitely always something that we're looking forward to doing. It's just perfect jumping into after a long winter and a long show season.
Yeah, for sure. And Justin, for the people that don't know you as well as they know Brendan from being on the podcast, you're the guide and outfitter director there at KUIU, a role in which Brendan, you took over from Brendan. Talk a little bit about your role there as the guide and outfitter director at KUIU and kind of what your, daily routine is with that position.
Yeah, so I was hired into KUIU by Brendan a little over a year ago, and I manage the guide and outfitter program. And basically what I am is kind of like the go-between between all the guide and outfitters that represent KUIU and the company. Do a lot of research and development and product development and testing with those guides and outfitters, getting the feedback that they have from the field as those pros in the field, getting that back to the company, and then trying to continue the innovation process, whether we improve what we've already done or putting new gear out that fills those niches and gaps that we may have that helps them to be successful in the field. That's kind of the short version of what I do.
One of the things about Justin too is, Justin is a guide up in Alaska as well for a long time. He's highly experienced, and I think he kind of skipped over the desert sheep thing there pretty quick. But that was Justin's 3/4 slam ram. He just lacks a stone sheep now, and it was pretty cool how he ended up getting that tag. I'll tell the story because I know he won't. But Justin, there was a auction online and it kind of stalled out, and Justin got a heck of a deal on a desert sheep on an online auction, and took a pretty big chance and on a substantial chunk of money, but a really good deal to go desert sheep hunting. So his hustle was pretty strong on the desert sheep. So it's pretty cool accomplishment to see him one step closer to finishing his Grand Slam.
Well, it's one thing coming from you, Brendan, the Ram hustle. But that's something that needs to be said. I mean, you guys both, let's face it, you guys are working guys, and it's, one of the things that, you hear sometimes about sheep hunters, it's like, oh, it's for the rich guys. And it's like, here's two guys right here that, do well and have good jobs and what have you, but dang sure are just out there working and like everybody else. But Justin, kudos to you for putting the sneak on that auction and getting it, and paying the money and ponying up and doing it. And it's not like it's just something you flip on your credit card. That's hard-earned money that you had set aside for that hunt, and congratulations. And that's a heck of an accomplishment to have a 3/4 slam. So, I know you've hunted all over the world, but I know sheep are super, super dear to you. Talk a little bit about, getting that third sheep and, knowing that you're just one away.
Yeah, no, for me, just the entire experience from start to finish was just epic. Everything that the outfitter said it was, came to fruition. Lots of sheep, beautiful scenery. Had one of our cameramen, Matt Forsyth, down there, who's just a stud of a kid. He was able to capture the entire hunt on film for us. So, something that can be relived over and over. But like you said, for me, sheep are just, the top tier, the pinnacle of hunting for me. And being able to go on a hunt, growing up as a kid in Colorado that, I never thought I'd see happen, to be able to make that all transpire and in the end leave with a good ram. It's just, one of the highest of highs through all the hunts that I've been. Like you said, I've been able to hunt all over the world, but to be able to hunt sheep, and especially desert sheep, and be one step closer to the slam, it's just an amazing experience, something that's, super humbling and super proud of.
Yeah, and you talk about like average guy. Justin moved to Alaska to hunt, basically. I mean, he was in the military, but really the appeal was to move to Alaska to hunt. I every time it comes up that sheep hunts a rich guy thing, it's like, it's not. It's a priority thing. At the end of the day, anything you want to do is, if it's a huge priority to you and it's something that you really want to do, you can make it happen. And Justin Desert Sheep is a classic example. Been doing taxidermy on the side and saving shekels.
Yeah,
saving shekels for a long time to go knock that out. It was just really cool to see, and it was pretty awesome.
Putting the pennies away for a long time for that one, and had it just having that money in the bank, and then the opportunity, the timing was perfect, and had it all come together. Like Brendan said, it's a priority. I've got no other hobbies, no other interests. All my time, money, and effort goes to hunting and planning what that next hunt is, and then trying to be able to do those bigger hunts that we all dream about as kids growing up.
Well, it's, knowing you like I do, and knowing the passion that you have for hunting, KUIU has a true asset, in their guide and outfitter director there. I mean, it couldn't be a better position for you, because you understand, the hunting side of it, but you also understand the outfitting side of it. And so to be the director of the guide and outfitter program, I mean, you couldn't have picked a better person, Brendan.
I appreciate that, Jay. Thank you.
Hats off to KUIU for that.
Brendan's recruiting skills are pretty good.
Let's dive into the Valo. I know we just announced, KUIU just announced the release of Valo, and I'll kind of open it up here for, how Valo, why, first of all, KUIU added Valo.
So, first of all, I want to say, we just launched Valo yesterday, and I want to say thank you to all our customers. I mean, it has been an incredible launch. You develop something, and it took a massive team effort from the entire company. I mean, literally everybody was working till midnight two nights ago to make sure everything went clean. We have a tremendous team at KUIU this was a, we get to see the fun side of the project, was the development of the pattern and, testing the gear and all that stuff, but there's a lot that goes into it. So that's off to everything. And then the customer response has been just incredible. So I just want to thank everybody. But, it's an interesting project in the fact that it came about the same way we do anything. We went about it to solve a problem. It's one of those things we didn't, KUIU is not a camo company. I wouldn't quantify us as a camo company. We're a technical apparel company. Camouflage is one aspect of, our skin to shell layering system. But it's not the number one thing. It's just a part of the entire system. So we didn't go about it to like, hey, we need a third pattern. Like, we just need to add something in. Over the years, this is our third pattern. Bias in 2010, and Verde has come along from 2012 basically through 16, some different iterations. But it came about from really, like everything does, customer feedback, customer requests, guides, outfitters, our own personal experience, going like, there's something missing, and we basically went about, like, what is the missing pattern in our system? Like what is, if there is something lacking, how can we figure that out? We started, it's been a multi-year process of just, first of all, compiling, what the wish list would be, what you're trying. And again, when you talk about trying to solve a problem, that's how we went about it. And the theme forever was that, like, I'd like a pattern, I need something that's a little bit lighter, a little more subtle, a little less contrast, that blends in when you're, with the lack of cover. And that was really kind of the theme of it. Like, how do we make a pattern that's going to blend in everywhere from, Justin's a classic example. He's hunted with Valo this year as much as anybody, from the Sonora Desert to the Alaska Peninsula. And there are certain times when a lighter pattern with less contrast, Bias and Verde are both high contrast colors, is designed to break up the human form through contrast. Obviously Verde is, green, early new growth, timber, stuff like that. Bias, Jay, you've been in the Chugach wearing bias, like in the boulders, talus and scree, and and up to the Northwest Territories. Like that stuff absolutely disappears in the places that it was designed for originally, that Jason Hairston designed it. And so this pattern came about from filling in a different niche that our customers requested, and everybody requested, even you. I mean, Jay, we've talked a lot about the pattern as it's being formed, and it's like that lighter, less contrast, those places where that, like, how can you disappear where you lack cover,
right.
And that's where it came about.
Brendan, would you say that this is more for a Western U.S. type, a lot of the more open country? Was that in the back of your minds when you guys were designing this?
Yeah, well, one thing I'd say is a podcast, obviously the audio version is not the best medium to bring out a camouflage, obviously. So if anybody wants to see the new pattern, go to the website. We have all the new stuff is up on KUIU.com, and you can go look at the pattern. This will probably make more sense what we're talking about. We didn't set out to, the specific goals were like, low contrast, very subtle, and different than our current patterns. I mean, edition by edition, we wanted to add something. This was we felt like the missing third piece to our camouflage, concealment puzzle at KUIU. So we wanted to, obviously to enhance and complement what we currently have. This wasn't hey, we need a new pattern to get rid of another pattern. It's like, no, this is something that I personally need, Justin personally need. A lot of the people that we got feedback, like, we kind of could use one more. There's these lighter, very tonal, especially with, mixes with light very well. Just kind of the missing third pattern. So,
it's an addition, not taken away from anything else or replacement for any of the other patterns. It's an addition to the line.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we look at it like it's kind of data chunking. When there was a lot of people involved in the development of this pattern that didn't even know it. When you go out, you start going and asking guys that like yourself or like Alan Bullitt, like all these guys that we talk to, and rather than show them a picture and go like, oh, what are you looking for pattern wise? Well, you ask and you find out like, oh, I'm looking for this and this, and you start looking at these different landscapes and habitats and kind of what, like, I'd like it, and the one theme that came up a lot was like less contrast, little more subtle, little less contrast. And when you see Valo, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, is that it doesn't have the real dark contrast lines. We stuck to the same principles as we design bias and verde. I mean, that's like, we truly believe in a macro breakup pattern to break up your outline and with micro detail. And so that was the theme that we stuck with in the design process of Valo. But we added a lot more subtle colors, and it doesn't have the dark contrast like some of the other stuff or that you see in the industry. There's a lot of stuff that really gets dark at a distance, and this was targeted for lighter terrain. And again, it's a really hard thing to disappear in terrain that lacks cover.
In the development process, Brendan, I mean, was it a function where you just kept picking at it and kind of putting it together and kind of, no, that doesn't look exactly right, and one of those things? Or was it when the initial concept hit, it was like, yeah, this is, I mean, how much tweaking in the development process was there once the pattern kind of got on paper, if you will, I assume on the digital screen, and you started kind of piecing it together?
Well, yeah, we've got a full team there, the development team that was working on this. And I would say it took a long time to get close, and it took a short time to turn into the pattern that it is. And it just through feedback. And like I said, it's data chunking. When you take a guy that says, I'm looking for something that disappears in this kind of landscape, and shows you a picture, or you discuss it, and then like stuff that I'm personally looking at, like early season elk and antelope in Montana, when you're, like when it's really the dead grass is burned, or later season when the leaves are off and everything's, died and gone dead, or like where Justin was just hunting on the peninsula. When you see the pictures of Valo on the peninsula, you're like, wow, that's incredible. Or when you look at him, glassing in Sonora, or, and you start piecing these pieces together of different areas where it's going to work. Everybody's got a place in mind where they want a pattern to work. And if you can get it to where it works, universally across, like it's a super diverse pattern. I mean, like I said, look at where Justin just hunted. You take it from, Sonora all the way to the peninsula, and it works everywhere in between and east. And there's a lot of places that we weren't targeting that this pattern just absolutely crushes it at. Like yesterday I got tons of, guys from out east are like, man, that's going to be incredible in CRP. And a guy from Kansas texted me yesterday, and you guys in California, Jake Franklin was involved in the development, and the stuff he does in Southern California, and guys in Kevin in Utah is like, oh man, it's going to crush it here. We just got some pictures from Alan Bowling yesterday. It's just like, wow, it's very diverse, and it'll go across a lot of different landscapes.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's crazy too is it looks just as good in a tree as it does on the ground. It's amazing to look at the pattern, and you don't think of it as a tree stand eastern whitetail type pattern, and then you throw it up in the trees, and it just absolutely blends and disappears. Super, super versatile.
Yeah, it's nice when it's nice when a pattern has a lot of crossover appeal. I mean, like for like Justin, like he says, like out east or CRP or eastern Montana with antelope or an elk, early season burned out. Like spring bear. I mean, I was just using it the other day. Spring bear hunting. It's just incredible how it disappears. So when you go through that, you can start seeing that it's gonna go across a lot of different landscapes. I got a bunch of texts from guys yesterday, big duck hunters. They're like, "Oh, it's gonna be incredible for that." Like, well, that wasn't.
Yeah, the waterfowl hunters are excited.
We're obviously a mountain hunting company. That wasn't the goal. It's obviously an incredible thing when it comes about that, like, you hit it out of the park and this pattern is going to work all over the place. I guarantee if you go to KUIU.com and you look at that pattern and see all the diverse places that we've taken photos of it, where it's been hunted with, where it's been tested, there will be a place in mind where you're like, I can add that in. Like, that's great. And there's some times when, like one of the questions we get a lot of is, does it eliminate bias? Absolutely not. I mean, there's times like when I'm sheep hunting up in Alaska or there's a lot of places where bias is going to be a superior pattern, heavy shadowing, a lot of contrast, very light on the underside. And then very obviously, I mean, you're talking brand new growth, green, wet environments, rainforest type stuff, deep timber, all that stuff. Like there was a reason for each one of these patterns. It's not because, we're chasing a sales thing. Like, I mean, this is the third pattern in 10 years. We haven't been really quick to do anything as far as camouflage unless it actually added to the brand.
I can already think of, specifically like Coues deer, Southern Arizona, in Sonora. I think it's going to be an awesome pattern for that. And then a lot of my desert sheep hunting, I think it would be a really good pattern for that. And then, the mule deer and elk over at the Odd Six Ranch, you've got a lot of that. At the time of year when we're over there, the grass has already kind of turned that yellow because you've had those first frosts in September, and I think it's going to be a great pattern for over there in southern Colorado. So I'm excited for sure to get it out. From a per pattern itself, Brendan, the whole KUIU line, all of the technical gear will be available in Valo, correct?
Yeah, and we've had a lot of questions about that. Like within the next 4 to 6 weeks, everything's coming in. Anything that's not there, it says right on the site when it's coming in Valo. Like it's obviously with the COVID situation, there's some stuff that hasn't been finished come through. Like we're working through everything, but it should all be available very quickly. And we have a great. I wish I had the exact details right now on exactly how many products, but this isn't. Yeah, it wasn't targeted at okay, we're going to do these pieces for this particular time of year or something like that. Like this is across the board. Valo is added in, and every single thing we've got. That's how it came in. Like it had to be complement our skin to shell system. Everything. I mean, we didn't look at it like, oh, it's great for late season habitat or anything. No, that's absolutely not. Like it's going to be throughout the line, just like we did with Verde, just like we did initially with Bias.
With everything going on with the COVID situation, Brendan, with the launch, from a company standpoint, launching Valo, obviously presenting challenges worldwide that all companies are faced with and going through. As far as the launch date, was there any, was the launch held off or anything like that, or was it, just, standard practice and we're just going to keep doing our thing and how did that all unfold?
Yeah, we actually kind of didn't miss a beat, which is pretty amazing. I mean, obviously, with the shelter in place, nobody's been in our office in 6 weeks. I mean, for the entire team to come together and get this thing out the door. I mean, like Justin and I, like I said, we only see the cool stuff, the product, the development side of it, and all that. But I mean, the whether it's IT, I mean, all these people at the company have been working remotely for the last, basically 2 months. Let's call it 2 months or whatever it's been. So it's pretty incredible how it came about, and everything's kind of went off without a hitch. I mean, that's why you have a tremendous team when you got, making sure the product's showing up, making sure that's all ordered right. Like that, there's so many, there's so much that goes into KUIU. That's again, that's not hunting related. That's just people kicking ass at their jobs, which is really cool. But yeah, it kind of went off without a hitch, which is pretty incredible. I mean, the warehouse has been shipping all the way through this. They've put in, obviously a ton of safety protocols so that nobody got sick or all that stuff. And yeah, it's been pretty impressive that it's kind of went off without a hitch. And and it's just a testament to people just stepping up and staying later and actually focusing at home and getting after it. So it's been really cool. And obviously, the customer response has been incredible. We have the best customers in the world, period. And again, like everything we do, we went about it as like, we want to solve the problems that our customers face. So the response has come about because, again, like this has been years and years of people walking up at the booth and, the guys we hunt with and everything else going like, man, have you thought about a different pattern? I mean, if I had $1 for every time somebody's asked me about a new pattern or given an idea, it'd be, it's been needed and it's really exciting to see it come to fruition.
How important is that customer feedback? I know Jason used to talk about it a lot, and being able to transition from listening to your customers to executing very quickly compared to a lot of other companies, getting customer ideas and their feedback into the field. Talk about that as far as KUIU and how you guys do that.
It's incredibly important. I mean, it always has been. I mean, I say customers. I mean, you're talking, guides, the guys that we deal with. Some, guys up north, guys down south, like the guides, customers, everybody. Like, we have some of our customers are some of the most accomplished hunters in the world, and so they love to be involved and to interact and to give the feedback and go, hey, here's what I saw. And, the direct connection to the customer is the core at KUIU. I mean, it's what separates us from. We don't rely on anybody else to sell our product or to interact with our customer. And they like everybody that is a KUIU customer. They call up. They generally have their guy or their person in customer service that takes care of them, and they're loyal to their person in customer service, and they're loyal. Like guys like Justin, there's guys that will not order unless they call up Justin. Same thing. I still have lots of guys. So it's a huge part of the brand, and I feel like we get better feedback as well. One of the things about the development process in this is it was pretty interesting. Is like the secrecy behind doing one of these is that it takes a long time to get right. So we kept it. It's got to be a secret. It's a business secret, obviously. There were a lot of guys involved, a lot of people involved in the development of this pattern that didn't necessarily know it. Like we'd reach out between, Sean, Whitteman, Justin, all the guys. Like when we're talking to guys, like I said, it's like data chunking. You're reaching out to guys like yourself and going like, I didn't necessarily, hey, I'm going to get your feedback because we're working on a new pattern. It's like, hey, what are you looking for in a camo? Or what is lacking, do you think? And so it's like all these, when the theme kind of comes together and everybody's kind of saying the same thing, it's like, oh yeah, this works awesome here. But, there's times when this, I'd like it to be a little bit lighter. I'd like it to be more subtle. I want less contrast. I want it a little more green, like you start and those things start aligning. It's pretty cool. It comes together because there's a lot more people that were involved in the development of this than they would actually know. It's like, yeah, they didn't sit down and go, oh yeah, let's change this on the camo, on the actual pattern itself, but they were consulted. It's like, and it's important to get that feedback. That's honest feedback from people that are actually using it. So that was one really cool thing. And like I said, it's a secrecy thing. So, it took a long time, but like all that stuff was noted, and that's how it came about. It wasn't like, hey, a guy at the company just sits down and draws a pattern and says, hey, this is what we're coming out with. It's not that. It's definitely, feedback from, guys like yourself and our best, people that reach out and, like, hey, we'd want to add this in.
Yeah, for sure. That's fantastic. Brendan, on a side note, I just want to. I saw something, not to change the subject, but I saw something about lambs have actually been hitting the ground on Antelope Island on some of the sheep that had been transplanted.
Yeah, the Conservation Direct project. Yep, yeah, we did the sheep transplant in February there, and so we moved 25 sheep to Antelope Island, and there's I think 14 of them were 14 of the 20 ewes were pregnant. There was a couple lambs and a couple that were open, but we had some little lambs born from the transplant stock, which is pretty cool. I think there's about 43 sheep on Antelope Island now. We brought in 25, so it's been pretty awesome to see that. So that was a really cool moment. To Jace Taylor, who was obviously Jace Taylor and Travis Jensen were super instrumental in putting this together with us. And when he texted and said, "Hey, check this out," and like brand new born lamb, it's like, wow.
Yeah, that footage was absolutely incredible to see. Just to see it come full circle, and just inspiring to see the work put in to see it all come together like that. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really feels like you made a difference, like to see that. Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Really cool. Brendan, I know Vias and Verde, are pretty much a 50-50. I mean, I know the question's been asked, what sells more? So now we have a third pattern. In your mind, any predictions as far as, Valo? Do you think Valo will supersede both of the other patterns and become, the single most versatile pattern with KUIU, or do you think it's too early to maybe even create a prediction?
I don't think like that. I mean, like for me, it's like when we went about this, it's like what do I also need? I mean, this was edition by edition. Like I said, like there are like I think you need them all. There are times in my hunting year where I'm going to need Valo, and there's times where I'm still going to use Vias. Absolutely, is going to be the superior pattern, and same with Verde. Like, I mean, the springtime, green up, like, so I think they complement each other. We didn't go out to set out like, we're going to create a do-all pattern that's going to eliminate our other patterns. We went in to fill a gap that was missing in what we saw in our system. So I think it's going to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I'm not, it's funny. I don't think Justin or I would like, that doesn't really come up in the meetings. Like how much is it going to sell versus the others? Like we really look at it like, how is this going to solve the problem? Like, what is the pattern what's the missing piece to the puzzle that we need?
Well, that's fantastic. And that's why KUIU is KUIU, and, being able to fill those gaps and, being able to round out and make things, where you see a void and get customer feedback. I mean, that's why KUIU has been as successful as it has, because a lot of times, KUIU is just looking at trying to, fill that niche of the hunter's feedback, the customer feedback of that niche. And so I look forward to seeing, Valo and seeing Valo, unfold here. I think it's going to be awesome. I know a lot of Instagram messages I got when I first posted yesterday was, some fantastic feedback. I'm looking forward to customers getting it in their hands.
Yeah, when you like I said, I would encourage anybody to go look at either to check out the email or go look at it on the site. But it's a really, really cool pattern. The fact that it definitely takes on different amounts of light. The places that it's, I mean, I think anybody when they see it, they will go like, I've got the perfect hunt for that, or I'm going to need that in these locations. Like I said, my full year of hunting, it fits in perfectly in some of the stuff where it was just like, that is going to be a superior pattern in these type of habitats and landscapes. So, and like I said, the feedback, which we didn't originally think of or target, like the feedback coming from, guys in the Midwest or, antelope hunters and down, a guy texted me yesterday, this big Arizona, New Mexico antelope guy. He's like, it's perfect for what we do. Like, it's going to be, it's super versatile. I mean, again, we're trying to add something that's going to solve a problem for our customers with the best skin to shell, technical apparel system on the planet. And this is what we felt was one of the missing pieces. And we're continue to drive, the innovation, from the company, fed by our, the feedback from our customers.
Awesome, guys. Anything that you think we need to add about Valo that I didn't cover or didn't ask?
No, it's for sale right now. Like I said, the podcast is not the best place to describe camouflage colors, shading, and all that stuff.
Go to the website, guys.
Yeah, go to the website and check it out. Love to hear the feedback.
Look at all the pictures, see the different terrain it's in, see how it blends.
Yeah, we're gonna send out some. I'll send some photos over to you and to post. Like I said, I sent them over this morning. When you see the difference between Justin and Sonora on the peninsula, I used it. I was fortunate to be able to take it with Greg McHale. We went up and we're bison hunting in the Yukon in the snow. It's incredible in the snow. I think people are really gonna love it. And we're super proud of it. And like I said, it took an incredible team effort to get this thing out. And it was, it's a really cool thing. We launched it in the middle of, this is a classic example of KUIU just doing what KUIU does. We launched this massive thing and right in the middle of probably the biggest chaotic time in our world in the last decade. So it was really cool to see the feedback and just, reinforces the awesome customers we have.
Awesome, guys. Well, I look forward to seeing the feedback from customers, and I know it's going to be a great pattern. It's great having both of you on the podcast. I wish you guys the best this summer, and stay safe and healthy. And we look forward to some of these late summer hunts and these fall hunts, and getting the 2020 fall season off and underway. One question I'd have for both of you, with Alaska and say with some of the Canada, with a bunch of the summer sheep hunts coming up, what are you guys hearing, or what do you think is going to happen with some of those hunts? Do any of you have any inside knowledge on that?
Yeah, so I can speak on the Alaska side. The state is in phase 2 of reopening now. A lot of the restrictions that were initially put in place have started to lift, or at least provisions put in place to get those lifted. And I'm super hopeful in that the fall season's going to kick off without a hitch. So I think things are going to go well here in Alaska. I'm not sure with Canada and Mexico with the cross border there, whether or not, what they're going to be able to do there. But here in Alaska is looking super positive to have a normal, good fall season for residents and non-residents.
Yeah, I've been talking with a lot of outfitters up north, a lot of guys, a lot of people that are, wondering what's going on. And I think everybody's kind of in the same place. They're just really, there's no reason to not stay positive. We're seeing, positive change all the time. And, right now, a lot of stuff up north is under quarantine. But I'm hoping to go up north sheep hunting this summer. I'm staying optimistic until I hear otherwise. Montana just opened up non-resident spring bear hunting. Idaho just did too. So things are opening up. I think we're headed into phase 2 here with the quarantine stuff, and people are going to be able to come hunt if they want to. And, hopefully some of this tourism is going to take off. And, I said people can, decide, the amount of risk that they want to entail. But, I'm remaining super optimistic on the stuff up north this summer. It'd be a sad day to not go sheep hunting up north and have all those, there's a lot of great people up there that would definitely be negatively affected if they weren't able to operate. And so we're just staying positive, and hopefully all that stuff's going to work out, and there's some really sensible plans that come in place to I don't think there's probably anything related to hunting that is safer than as far as travel wise. You're talking 2 or 3 people at a time, being in small groups. I think smarter people will come to their senses, and it's going to work out well.
Guys,
how about Mexico? What are you doing? You've been going to Mexico, right?
Yeah. So, I did we killed 17 Gould's turkeys in Mexico. Certainly we were scheduled to shoot, close to 75. So, we were cut back somewhat. I think if the season, if the prime season would have been a little later, like now, and even another couple weeks, I think we probably could have done a lot more, because I think initially, everyone not wanting to travel and stuff early on, and, say March and early April, a lot of that fear and what have you of not wanting to get out kind of shut those down. But yeah, we were able to conduct some hunts in Mexico. And I think, our Coues deer seasons and mule deer seasons moving forward, in most of December and January. I think they should be good. So we'll just see. We're kind of in a wait and see. But yeah, I crossed the border 4 or 5 different times with clients, and we're able to shoot some turkeys. So that was good. So we just, like anything, want to keep moving forward and hoping for the best, and trying to do, keep the safety measures in order, and do the best we can as outfitters, for sure. So guys, to the podcast listeners out there, go check out KUIU.com. That's KUIU.com. And go check out the new Valo pattern. Guys, Justin and Brendan, great always having you on the podcast.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. And have a good spring, and looking forward to seeing all your what you're doing.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. Justin, take care.
Yep, we'll catch you later, buddy. Thanks, Jay.
See you guys.
Okay,
yeah.
Brendan.
Bye.
Bye.